Hey folks, so today's video topic is going to be decided by the old YouTube poll. So let's go over here and take a look, see what it says. Whoa, looks like Mar West just barely beat out Marcel. If you make another Tony Rice video, I'll fight you. It's a shame too, because the I'll fight you option had an early lead, but it was not to be. If you'd like to vote on which famous flat picking break I'll do next in one of these how to play videos, just subscribe and then you can vote in the next poll. Or you can just shout at me in the comments. I read all the comments, so that's good too. I also wanted to thank everyone that's been signing up for SKYPE lessons lately. I've had so many new students. It's wild. I know it feels like I say that a lot, but it's just crazy when I get one of these influxes of emails and I'm like, whoa, suddenly everyone's signing up. So if you're interested in joining the SKYPE lesson crew, you can go to my website, lessonswithmarcel.com. You just click on the SKYPE lessons tab and you can sign up right there. Cool. So if you watched a lot of my how to play videos, you know that right here, I normally do a little history lesson about the album and the song and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to be doing that for Tony Rice's Mar West album. I'm going to do the history section for this album when I release my Waltz for Indira. Indira? Is that how you say it? I just realized I've never said the name of that song out loud. Anyway, so just hold out for that. I promise it'll be worth it. Well, hopefully. I haven't written it yet. So anyway, so let's jump straight into the techniques that we're going to need to play Tony Rice's Mar West. Okay, you guys know how I like to start out. First, we need a bone structure, and that is going to be undeniably the B minor pentatonic scale. And, well, really, we only need one shape, so let's take a look at that right now. So our B minor pentatonic scale is really just a full B minor scale, but missing the second and the sixth. So perhaps a full minor scale would be useful as well. So let's take a look at how we can add to our B minor pentatonic to make a big old minor scale shape. The last little thing to look for would probably be these triad shapes that Tony likes to throw in this melody. So you have a couple for B minor, you have one for E, and let's see, I think there's one for G, and there's one for like F sharp augmented. So go ahead, those all look like this. So I'm not really going to talk about this later, but I think it's kind of important to point this out before we go into the tune. It seems like Tony is trying to make a chord change where every chord has a D note in it somehow. Whether that's truly his intent or just happenstance, I don't know. But why don't we look at the chords and just see how that happened? All right, so I'm looking at the chord chart right in front of me. The first chord is B minor 7, which Tony voices like this. He keeps the D note in place when he moves to an E7 chord, right? He's just got to shift one little finger there. That's nice. When he moves to an A7 sus4 chord, that also keeps our D note in place. The next chord after that is an E or an E7, which would keep our D in the same place. After that is a G, which follows the pattern. After that, we get another A sus4 and a B minor 7 again. The problem is the last line includes an F sharp 7, though. And that wouldn't have a D in it. An F sharp 7 chord wouldn't have that. I mean, it shouldn't. But the melody doesn't play an F sharp 7 triad. It plays that F sharp augmented triad that I mentioned earlier. And that does have a D in it. So the F sharp 7 chords in this tune could potentially be F sharp augmented chords. And that's all just some hypothetical talk, right? It's hard to tell if they're always following that rule on the recording. And I bet they aren't. Although in Tony's bio, still inside, he does tell a little story about a chord change that has the same note in every single chord. All of the details, but it's around the time that he's hanging with Grisman. And the tune couldn't have been Mar West because this would be 3 or 4 years after Grisman album came out. And I guess Grisman Rounder record before that, so maybe that's 1976, and this album comes out in 1980. So yeah, the timeline doesn't make sense, but it's definitely something Tony has admitted to trying to do before, so we know that. All right, so now that you know all of the things to look for, why don't we have another peek at the break, and you can try to spot all those things before we do like a full breakdown. All right, so now we know what the melody is made out of. Now let's do a full breakdown and see if we can see how all those little separate pieces are assembled to create this tune. All right, folks, here we are, ready for the breakdown. I got the tab right here. Let's take a look at it. So the first thing that happens is my microphone is in the way of my hands. Jesus Christ. What kind of ranky-dink production is this, man? You call this a guitar lesson? So our first passage right here sounds like this. So let's look at just the pickup. Now that we can analyze it a couple ways. So, I mean, number one, this or this, those are both B minor triads. Those are the notes in a B minor chord. Sort of a grander picture, yeah, these are notes in the pentatonic scale. So there's two different ways we can analyze that part. As we get to right here, well, this note, yeah, that would definitely be part of the full B minor scale. Right, that would be the second or the ninth. As we move forward, we switch to an E chord, and look, he's given us that E triad. And this is actually a great example of something Tony does a lot in this era of his playing. At this point, he's already come up with this lick, which is the same thing, but when Tony gets more progressive, he starts doing this for other chords. And this is a great example of that. He doesn't just do it for G or just for D. Right? As we move on, we switch to an A7 sus4 chord, this kind of chord. Or maybe more like that, or maybe more like this. You can think about it a lot of ways. He's playing sort of a B minor triad over it. I think the reason why is because it hits a lot of interesting extensions of the A7 sus4 chord. So, for instance, we get this, which would be like the sixth. This is our suspended fourth. This would be our ninth or our second, right? He's sliding up into the seventh fret on the B string over the E chord. And once again, that would be the ninth. So he's favoring the ninths over, I think, every chord that we've seen so far. Cool. If we move on to the next line, we get a line that is really just the full minor scale. There's a couple things that are worth talking about in this line right here. First of all, I'm starting in 7th position. That means my index finger is on 7th fret, and everything else is just falling into line after it. The line sounds like this. And that takes us to our first talking point, because right here I have to shift. And normally I would hide that with a slide. If it was me, that's what I'd do. But Tony hides it even better. He slides his finger, but he also picks, is what I think is going on. Right? Which is something we actually haven't talked about in this channel before, but that's something you can do to hide slides when they have to happen. Right? Now that line might not feel super comfortable to you right here up the neck. And I don't think it's I don't think it's wonderful right there either. And you can play it down here. It would sound like this. We jump up to the 7th fret on our B string for that last note, so we could finish this line. Playing this ending phrase actually takes me to another talking point. In the tab, I wrote it just like that, just like I just played it. But a lot of people who have learned it from Wyatt Rice and from the recording and stuff like that, a lot of them are hearing this. So a little slide ornament right there. When I listen to the recording, to my ear, it doesn't sound like Tony does it every time. I don't think it has to be in there, but I do want to teach it because I don't want to teach you the wrong way, and I certainly don't want people in the comments saying, hey, Marcel didn't listen very closely to the recording. It sounds like this. When I get to 10th fret on my G string, I'm actually going to leave my finger there, and I'm going to pluck that string again, but this time I'm going to slide straight to 9th fret. So there you go. There's another option for that phrase too. Cool. As we move forward, we would hit the repeat. We would go through all of that again. Then we would hit the second ending, which would take us to the 3rd line of the song. And we would have this. So let's talk about that. A lot of this can be played in different places. This much, I do believe, is in the right place. This next part, I don't think Tony actually used the open B string on. Probably one like this. Or probably unlikely to do that. The open B string is just so appealing though. It's so tempting for me. It just seems like a smart move to do, so that's why I did it in my transcription here. As we move to the next phrase, we get this. Now that also has a choice with it. This is, right, our little G triad. This is our little F sharp augmented triad ending on a D note. Excuse me, ending on a B note. If we take that, we move it over here, we would get, there's our G triad. There's our F sharp augmented. We can open on that B note, or we can end on our open B string. Right, either of those work. So there's an alternate option as well. I don't think Tony played it that way because he has to start this phrase again. So I think that he would have opted to play this phrase up here. So it makes the whole thing loop if you had to for whatever reason. I don't know. So yeah, awesome. I'm going to play through this melody one time, just a little under tempo. So maybe you can play along, grab some of these things. Here I go. Here's our second ending. There you go. All right, great. So I'm going to play that sample performance one more time, this time with the tab. I just want to warn you real quick, though, that this tune is hard to get up to speed. I don't think the melody lays out all that great sometimes on the fretboard, which means the TR unit really plays it. They really have it up there in tempo. So like I did in my last videos, I'm going to do my performance just a hair under the original tempo, so you have a stepping stone. So I'm going to play my performance at 120 BPMs. Actual recording is at like 130 BPMs, so if you can play it along with me, you're probably ready to start trying to play it along with the real recording. And remember, for some of you, my version is still pretty quick, so remember that you can always go down to the settings wheel. Where is it? Is it this? It's right here. The settings wheel, and you can slow down the video. Just click on that wheel, and you can go to playback speed, and you can slow it down. In fact, you could slow it down right now while I'm talking, and my voice will sound all funny. But anyway, here is the performance again with the tab. All right, cool. If you like taking a lesson from the biggest, baddest Billy Goat in the barnyard, there's a couple things you can do. Please subscribe to this channel. You can scroll down, you can leave me a comment, or you can give this video a like. But more important than all of those things, you can check out my website, lessonswithmarcel.com. We got a bunch of blog posts over there. We have the tab store, a bunch of free tabs, some tabs you could buy. You can sign up for Skype lessons if you want. I also run the Instagram account Jazz and Grass, where we have a new guitar lick every single weekday, plus Saturdays. And on Sunday, we do a podcast. And that's about everything that I do. There's a lot in there. It's hard to remember all of it. Oh, I also have merch at my website. Please get a shirt. Anyway, y'all have a nice day. I'll see you next time.
From the mountains cold, we ring them bells at the crossroads. Through the valley below, my heart love was running from town. That midnight train